Welcome back. Now, when the news first broke that 21,780 primary school teachers failed the examination to test their competence, many Nigerians thought it was the usual promotional exams to grade teachers. But the matter became more disturbing when it was revealed that it was exams meant for primary 4 pupils that the teachers actually failed. Many Nigerians have, however, questioned the conduct of the examination. Some ask if this is a case of witch hunt against the teachers or absolute incompetence on the part of the teachers. The government, on its part, says it will employ 25,000 fresh teachers to replace the ones who failed the test. But this issue, according to stakeholders, is a sensitive one in which the government must tread softly. This is not the first time incidents like this have actually happened. In 2015, the Nigerian Union of Teachers fought a former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, to a standstill over his plan to sack incompetent teachers. Also, former governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, incurred the wrath of civil servants when he demanded an examination to test the competence of teachers. This development, according to political watchers, was one of the reasons he lost his re-election bid. Now, how will Kaduna State government deal with this issue? Well, we'll just wait and see. But then the governor has said, that's Governor El-Rufai has said, he is determined to employ 25,000 fresh teachers. Let's just hope these 25,000 fresh teachers will be very good and will be better than the ones that the state government has actually decided to lay off. Joining me now to discuss this issue further is Libros Oshoma, who is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Libros, tell me how shocked you are by this development.
No, I wasn't shocked.
Oh,
I wasn't really. I wasn't because I've seen too much incompetence and illiteracy in this climb to be shocked. You remember, just like you said, it happened in Edo State, it happened in Ekiti, and you ask yourself why, are these teachers so insistent on or refusing to write, a test to test their competence, because they know that a lot of them, apart from the fact that you won't cross the line, they know how they came into the system, and since some people have been there for 10 to 15 years that have never one day bothered to even further their education apart from just the level they were employed. And then also, what has the government done? What's the government doing? What are their plans to encourage teacher training? I hardly hear
retraining too.
Yes, teachers training and retraining. I hardly hear government put efforts apart from you want to conduct tests for teachers, even for people that you want to conduct tests for. At least you take them through a training process and then you conduct a test for them. Yes, I agree. You say these are people who teaches your students every day. But then, in the same vein, what's your program for training and retraining? In those days, we had teacher training colleges. We had NCE. We had teacher training colleges. You had also departments of education in the university. But even how do we train, how do we treat teachers these days? And even some of these teachers, how were they employed? In every state of the federation, none is excluded. All of them, how were they employed? There's what I call the bearer is from me, interview and employ. And so you find out that people that go to write aptitude tests for employment will end up not being employed. Those that will be eventually employed will be those, the politicians will have their list, the governor will have his list, deputy will have his own, the commissioners, political patronage, permanent secretaries. At the end of the day, you have more than enough. So those that all went out that were prepared actually to be employed will not be employed. So it's a system where you garbage in. You expect refined products to come out.
The danger of this is, of course, that it is happening at the primary school level, which is very critical to the formation of a child, because that stage is very critical. If you do not handle the child very well at that stage, if the child doesn't get a good education at that stage, then there's no guarantee that that child will develop properly.
It takes the grace of God for a child that went through public school in Nigeria now to be grounded educationally. the world is becoming a global village.
Funny enough, we all went to public school.
That's the saddest part of it.
I went to
a public school
primary
too.
School.
Public primary, public
secondary
secondary,
school.
public university. You know, that's the saddest part of it. And the world, like I said, has become a global village. That some of the people you're going to compete with, you know, are people that, you know, got the best in terms of formation, educational formation. And so you leave this your Iyotote primary school to Erumugo secondary school and the Kakpamre University, and then you come out, you want to, the government expects you to teach, you know, in this same primary school and be the best or impact knowledge. You can't give what you don't have, like we say in law. And so that's why it is like this. Take saner societies. For you to teach at that level, you know, it's a professional job that the government will not just leave to all comers or to use as, patronage.
I think you're quite right, because it appears, to say the truth, all this while, the government at all levels
completely neglected that department.
And so they employ just anybody.
They also, let me shock you. When you don't have a stake in a system, you don't care what happens to it. All of this, for me, it's even, I laugh also, because for me, I just feel the government is paying lip service to all that is happening. So, like Oshomole's own, it was funny, we all laughed, and at the end of the day, it fizzled out. Ask yourself the question, how many of the governor's children are attending these schools? How many of the governor's children are in public primary school or in public secondary school or in universities in Nigeria? It is very easy for them these days to go to UK, celebrate the graduation of their children, like we see, you know, on the social media. How will they now have a stake in this school? I remember Segun Awolowo had opportunity to attend some of the best universities in the UK, but because his father, his grandfather, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who was a political leader in the West, I remember then at that time, Ogun State University was just, you know, a new university, but he had to go to that school because they need to use their children to show that this university can match any university in any part of the world. And so you believe in a system and yet your children are not attending those schools. So that's the problem. And so these schools are neglected. You neglect the teachers. Their salaries are not paid. Even when they are paid, how much is even the salary? Those that want to actually teach, those that are interested are not even employed in these places.
And of course, you look at the remuneration for teachers.
Yeah, because
not attractive. The remuneration cannot attract the best brains.
Yes, so the remuneration also, there is no way you look at the salary of an average primary school teacher and then you expect that you would want to go waste your time there. Those days, the moment you graduate from with a first class in a university, that university will give you scholarship and retain you, so that, because they want to keep the best brain back in the system. But these days, what do we have? You have the best brain wanting to work in the banks, work in multinational, because also they went to school. Because most of these people also, mind you, they are coming from humble homes. You know, they have brothers and sisters that they will also need to take care of. Probably the family gathered money to send them to school and expecting that when they come out, they in turn will take care of their siblings.
What do you think has changed? In the past, public schools, primary schools especially, I mean, they were the best. I mean, you attended a public school. I attended a public school, primary, secondary, university. In the past, they were the best. Now, one would have expected that, you know, things would have graduated from there, and you would have expected that things would have improved over the years. But it appears, you know, things have gotten worse. Now we look back to those days when we attended public schools, and what exactly is wrong? What exactly is the problem? How did things get this bad?
A lot of things changed. A lot. First and foremost, you talk about the quality of governance. You know, the quality of governance nosedived. And if you have a governor who all he has is he probably went to NDA and became, you know, an officer. By Pippin, he became a colonel, brigadier, and then he's made a governor of a state. What does he know about governance? And then someday he retires, he becomes a stakeholder. What does he know about education? Why would he want to invest in education, in the Ministry of Education? I remember when Baba Damuyam was military administrator in Edo State, he said, look, the schools can generate funds. The education was not a priority.
The reason I'm asking,
library,
teachers
he said library should generate
teachers
funds.
Of those days were better than teachers we have today.
Because at that time,
schools.
the government knew the importance of education. If you remember, just before or after, just after the what do you call it, independence, the government of Western Region felt the need to fill vacancies that the Europeans were going to leave. And so what did they do? What did they do? They declared free qualitative education. It's not just free education, but qualitative education. And so they built more schools. They ensured that the teacher training programs were up and running. And then they also had what you call continuous assessment programs for teachers. Not these days. Then if you remember, if a chief inspector of education was coming to your school for assessment, the school will sit up. But now, what do they do with when the salaries hardly come? When the chief inspectors are coming these days, all you need to do is to package something for their boots. And then they come, they assess and go. Sometimes you hardly see the teachers. Some of them have turned traders in the schools. So that's how we gradually, started losing it. The moment we saw education no longer as an obligation that the state owed the people. You say education, free education as at when practicable. Nobody will hold you responsible if you say it is not practicable. And so you now say, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And then the moment we started dropping the ball in public schools, we are giving licenses to private schools. And you remember those days, you're a teacher, you live in the quarters. There were staff quarters for schools. There were, you couldn't attend the schools without football fields, without quarters. Even some primary school had staff quarters. And so it was a complete program to groom the child. There were spaces for you to play. But now you see 1 2-story building, even one block, does it primary, secondary. And somebody at the ministry approved that building for a school.
And very quickly, because we have to wrap up very quickly now. We're talking about public schools now, but the fact is that there are problems with private schools.
That's what I'm telling you.
It's this proliferation.
It's a situation where you have one block.
Yes, private schools everywhere.
Nursery, primary, secondary.
And where are they getting their teachers from?
All they need to do is to go lobby and then get license. And once you're licensed, you register the school, and then boom, you're in business. And then because there are no jobs, some people, most teachers that you have are not teaching because they want to teach. It's because there are no jobs. Some people also that went to university to read education, not all of them actually intended to read education. Some of them is because, since I didn't get admission in department I actually wanted, okay, let me manage education. Maybe I will change course midway. Sometimes they are not able to, and so they stay put. And then they come out, when they don't get jobs in these public schools, private school come calling. So how we go do? You get there, and then your full attention is not there. All you need is, something to keep by. And I tell you, these 27,000 that they are employing now,
the 25,000
25,000 teachers that they are employing, I can tell you for free that politicians are already compiling lists. People are already lobbying. So you will end up removing the ones you think do not know and replace them with the ones, people of same like minds. The problem here is when you don't invest in your human capital development, like schooling, trainings, and look at the private sectors that are doing well. They invest so much in training and retraining. And yet, you have a society where you want to grow knowledge, and your best are not in the department where knowledge is grown. How do you now expect to grow such knowledge? And then you're so quick and very happy to remove yours and send them to a society where others have developed. You say, he attended Cambridge, Oxford, and won some roadside universities in England, and then you bring them back here, you're quick to brandish them. But you forget that the curriculum is different, the society is different, and then, everything is different. And so some of them come here, they want to shove it down your throat, what is practiced there. And then it's like putting a square peg in a round hole.
Libra Shuma, thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. But this is a very terrible situation. Something has to be done. I mean, if we have to develop our human capital in this country, then we have to take education more seriously. It's actually very sad that primary school teachers would not be able to write examination or a test now meant for primary 4 pupils. Quite sad. And these people are teachers in our schools. If we do not take primary education seriously in this country, then we are doomed. We're doomed, because that stage is very critical, and we just can't afford to toy with it. And that's what we've been doing. And as Libra said, no state is exempt from this, no state at all. You see it everywhere. We just need to do something to stop all of this nonsense. Well, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. All you just need to do is go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TV360Nigeria. Subscribe now to get more videos and updates. You can join us on Google Plus as well at TV360 Nigeria, or you can just like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360 online. You can as well follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at TV360 Nigeria. We thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.